Imagine being so rich that you could literally buy your own private island, but you don't because you feel guilty about it. What would you do? Well, this is the exact problem that Larry Page and Sergey Brin found themselves in. When Google became massively successful, Larry and Sergey decided not to go ahead with the plan of buying their own private island, but rather spend their billions of dollars on things that benefited humanity as a whole instead. This is how they became the world's most generous philanthropists. But what did Larry Page and Sergey Brin actually do to become so insanely rich in the first place? Welcome to our channel, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. In today's episode, we will be taking a look at how Larry Page and Sergey Brin made their massive fortune. Act 1. Back to school. Before Google existed, there were two Stanford University computer science graduates named Larry Page and Sergey Brin, and the two of them became friends while they were both attending graduate school. Although they studied computer science, neither of them had any interest in building software. Instead, they wanted to focus their efforts on hardware, which meant that they had to figure out a way to make money from designing hardware. However, this was much easier said than done. And after failing over and over again, they finally had to accept that there wasn't any way for them to make money from hardware. But then something magical happened. Both of them got sick of working on hardware projects and decided to take a break to recharge. Once they stopped forcing themselves to work on hardware projects, they finally had the clarity they needed to see what the next step should be. They realized that their real talent wasn't in hardware design, but in writing code. And this realization completely changed the trajectory of their lives forever. But before we jump into how exactly they used their newfound realization to build Google, let us tell you a little story. Back when I was starting my journey towards financial freedom, I spent all my time reading books about it. However, the thing that really helped me accelerate my journey towards financial freedom was an online course. It helped me make sense of everything that I had read in those dozens of books and apply it to my own life. After taking the course, I started seeing more and more opportunities around me that allowed me to multiply my wealth. And that's when I realized that the reason why some people are poor and others are rich comes down to one simple reason: financial education. Most people just don't have access to good financial education. Which is why my friends and I created our very own course called Financial Freedom in a Week. This is a free course that will teach you everything we know about growing your wealth in the least amount of time possible. We cover topics such as effective investing strategies, making money with real estate, how to start a business, and so much more. We made this course because we want to help people achieve financial freedom and break the unfair cycle of the world where people born into wealth stay rich, while those born into poverty stay poor. Act 2. Building the search engine. Now that Larry and Sergey realized that their true passion was in writing code, they decided to combine forces and build something amazing together. They thought that the best way for them to showcase their coding skills would be to build a search engine. So they got to work and built something that they called Backrub. Although Backrub was by no means perfect, it was still revolutionary. You see, all the other search engines that came before it were purely based on keyword matching. But Backrub didn't just match keywords. It also looked at how often a web page was linked to by other web pages, and used that to rank the web page. By doing this, Backrub became insanely accurate at finding relevant web pages. And although Larry and Sergey knew that Backrub was special, they had no idea just how special it truly was. Because of this, they ended up making Backrub open source and released it to the public for free. But shortly after they released Backrub to the public, they quickly realized that they had made a huge mistake. People started using Backrub for all sorts of purposes, but none of them were what Larry and Sergey had intended. Larry and Sergey soon realized that they had just created the perfect foundation for a search engine that could be used by anyone for anything. And this realization changed everything for them. You see, Larry and Sergey had been naive enough to think that they could give away Backrub for free without making any money from it. But now they realized that they had just created something that could make them incredibly wealthy. So they set out to monetize backrub as quickly as possible. They started by applying for a patent for their new invention. But while they were waiting for their patent to go through, they decided to launch backrub as a full-fledged search engine. At first, no one paid any attention to it because everyone was used to using AltaVista for their searches. But as word started spreading about how much better Larry and Sergey's search engine was, more and more people started using it. Larry and Sergey were thrilled to see that people were finally starting to pay attention to them. But they knew that they couldn't rest on their laurels. If they wanted to make a ton of money, they would need to keep improving backrub. So they continued to work tirelessly, day in and day out, to make backrub the best search engine on the market. Their hard work paid off big time. Eventually, they had built the most popular search engine in the world. And this is when they finally decided to change the name of backrub to Google. Although Google was now a massive success, Larry and Sergey knew that they couldn't stop here. They wanted to take Google to the next level and become insanely rich in the process. And that's when they decided to expand Google beyond just being a search engine. They started by offering additional services to their users, such as email and online storage. But these weren't very successful. However, they weren't discouraged because they knew that it would take time for these services to catch on. So they kept trying, and eventually they hit gold with the launch of Google Maps. With Google Maps, Larry and Sergey had finally created a service that people actually wanted to use, and this is when their net worth started to skyrocket. But even though Larry and Sergey were now insanely rich, they knew that they couldn't stop here. They wanted to become the world's most generous philanthropists. And that's when they founded the Google Foundation. Through the Google Foundation, Larry and Sergey pledged to donate billions of dollars to various causes around the world. They donated money to fight against diseases, to help the environment, and to improve the lives of people around the world. Although Larry and Sergey are no longer running Google on a daily basis, they are still some of the richest people in the world thanks to their investment in Google back in the day. Larry currently has a net worth of $137 billion, while Sergey has a net worth of $150 billion. Now, if you want to learn about the one habit that made this couple so wealthy, then we suggest you watch our video on the power of compounding. We will put the link for the video in the description below. Make sure to click on it right after you finish watching this video. And now, here's the end screen. Thank you for spending the last 10 minutes of your day with us. We hope that you've enjoyed the video and that you've learned something valuable that can help you grow your wealth. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe to our channel. We post new videos every single day that can help you become financially free and live the life of your dreams.